What up YouTube? TK here, and this is my junk box? Junk box MX-5. Yeah. Oh shit, we're overheating. Oh shit. Shit. We nearly ran out of road. Well, we're overheating on a freeway. This is great. Okay, so I actually had a really cool video planned for the MX-5 today. This is my new car. I've only had it a month. I bought it because the Feroza's dead, so I wanted a reliable car, and there it is up there. So the problem is it overheats badly when you drive on a hot day, or if you drive up a small hill, it overheats. So I'm not going to the beach with it. I'm not driving it on the Hills Road. Not having a fun day at all. I'm waiting for it to cool off, hoping I don't get hit by a car, hoping it doesn't get hit by a car either, and yeah, once I can get off the highway, I'll tell you a little bit more about it, but this week's video is not going to plan. So I was going to show you some great footage of me driving through the hills on some amazing roads, you know, sweeping corners, tight hairpins, but instead I'm coasting home on the highway. What we're going to do is put in the new radiator I ordered because of this very overheating problem. I just didn't realize it was quite this bad until today. The tunnel looks really cool though, even at 70 k's an hour. Okay, so we managed to limp the MX-5 back home, and because I've been having this overheating problem basically since I got the car, I had ordered this big fat radiator, and it comes with 2 fans. Fragile. I should put that sticker on my MX-5. Oh, what a glorious thing. Look at that piece of work. That's gonna go in my poor, sick, beleaguered MX-5. Well, let's get stuck into it. Obviously, we have to start by removing the radiator that's in the car. What is annoying is it's still warm after what has been several hours of cooling down. So I'm gonna try and remove the radiator cap and hope I don't burn myself horrifically. But thankfully the system is no longer under pressure. And if you're wondering why we're whispering, it's because it's fairly late to be working on a car. Hello, radiator cap. We have to drain all the fluid out of this radiator, unfortunately. I'm armed with my phone torch, and I can clearly see the pipe I have to disconnect. So we'll go ahead and get our drain pan underneath it. I think the MX-5 has a coolant drain somewhere, but I'm not exactly sure where, and this is quicker. I just need some pliers. We need to undo this clip on this hose going to the radiator and wriggle it off, which is easier said than done. Oh, and by the way, here you can see the wooden flap I used to try and duct more air to the radiator in the absence of a proper undertray. It didn't work. It didn't work at all. There's a big thing by people that work on Japanese cars regularly. They replace all of these with the proper screw clamps, and after 10 minutes you can understand why. It'd just be so much easier. And this is one of the easy ones. There we go. Now we're going to actually pull the hose off, which is another job. But it's coming off fairly easily. Try not to get the splash of the coolant in your eyes at all. There we go. Oh god. And it's warm. So that's all draining out nicely now. You can see it's still quite warm. And it actually looks really clean. There's no oil in it, which is excellent. So it looks like we haven't done a head gasket. That's always good news. If you are wondering why I've jumped straight to replacing the radiator, it's not because I'm just randomly throwing parts at the thing. I've already checked and replaced the thermostat with a functioning one, and checked the coolant, replaced the radiator cap. The radiator is really the only other thing I can actually think of that could be causing these problems. Now that we've drained the radiator, we can remove this top pipe, and that should be much easier and hopefully shouldn't spray everywhere. I think it's a good idea to put your drain under it just in case. Nope, it's all dry, thank goodness. Next we got to figure out the bolts. So I'm just going to quickly hunt. There's one bolt there and one bolt there, and that appears to be all that holds the radiator in place. Let's remove this hose to the overflow and we'll get onto that bolt. That's not too hard to get at, thankfully. Alright, we got one of the buggers. Time for number 2. Now let's give the thing a shake and see if it actually wants to come free. It doesn't look too bad. The way the MX-5 works is it has 2 fans. It has one fan here, which is the main thermo fan, and then it has a second fan down here. Now this one only comes on when the air conditioner is running with the engine. What we're going to do is replace this entire assembly. We're putting in a new radiator with 2 new fans, and we're going to make them both run as thermo fans. So the car gets hot, they both click on, the car cools down, they both click off. We don't care about this air conditioner nonsense. The air conditioner in this car doesn't work anyway, so it shouldn't be a problem. Okay, there's one, and there's 2. I don't see why they use different connectors on each fan, but I guess it makes them hard to mix up. The radiator does feel like it's ready to come out now. It feels like it's stuck on something. I'll have to have a good look around. So it's apparent if we look here that the radiator is actually just held on to what looks like an air conditioning line. So if we unbolt that little bracket and look for any others, we should be able to lift it out. So it's just a matter of undoing these bolts holding these air conditioning lines to the radiator, and then we should be able to lift it out, and I'm very excited to do so. I thought my shocks looked rusty for a second, but I realise now they're just yellow. I think those are Coney adjustables. I don't love them. They ride very hard, and, you know, I would like some coilovers because JDM spec, yo. I removed the 2 main bolts. I also removed the 2 bolts holding the radiator to the air conditioning lines. I'm now hoping I can lift this radiator out. Oh, come on. Oh, yeah, there we go. That feels good. You'll go bye-bye. Or maybe Gumtree? Maybe bye-bye. Alright, time to open the new one. Did I mention it looks stunning? Oh. Let's hope I don't bang it up too much putting it in. I am a little worried because this one weighs almost twice as much, if not more, than the old one. And wow, it also has a really nasty feeling radiator cap. Regardless, I am worried it's a little heavy for just the original 2 mounting bolts. It does look like it maybe has some other mountings you can use, but I really don't know. We're just going to put it in and hope for the best, really. We have this great big drain plug on the bottom. Now if we ever need to drain the radiator, that is going to come in very handy. And, you know, it's just a nice feature to have. So we'll go ahead and start gently lowering this into place. Oh dear. Come on now. Okay, so I'm having a little trouble getting it seated. It looks like this is going to need just a bit of persuading with a hammer on a couple of the lower brackets, which I can't really do because it's now 10 PM and I'm tired. So we're going to come back to this tomorrow. It got too dark last night and I couldn't figure out why the radiator wouldn't fit, so it's daytime now. We're going to go ahead and whack this thing in, and by God, I hope it works. Test fit number 7. It is literally just those 2 bastard little clips, and it's a fraction of a millimeter, so we're gonna deal with this the only way I know how, with a hammer. And I know it's a cliche, but god damn it, I need a radiator already. I only need a mil, maybe 2. There we go. That's gonna fit. Hold it with one hand, drop a bolt with the other. I'll throw up an eBay link to the radiator I bought off eBay, even though that will only be useful for a short period after the time I post this, and only useful if you are in Australia. But it's an awesome package. For 260 bucks, I got the radiator shipped with these 2 awesome fans already mounted on, ready to drop in. And it looks really awesome. Nice and tight, so my radiator doesn't end up in the street somewhere. And we're done. Oh, now that's interesting. These little rollers here went into those hooks on the chassis that were stopping us putting the new radiator in. Oh well, I don't think I could reuse those anyway. Oh, I maybe could have. I don't care. Or do I? I've decided I am actually going to try and put these on the new radiator because I don't really trust it just hanging off 2 bolts after all. I realized these actually slot onto those little clips that were stopping me putting the new radiator in, so I'm hoping I can leave the radiator sitting in there and slide these on somehow. See how we go. There's a little circlip holding it on, which is an absolute pain in the ass because, like most YouTubers starting out, I don't have a circlip removal tool. Ugh. I'm just not that cool yet. Yeah, well, I'm going to get that circlip off one way or another. I got the buggers off. The trick was pushing really hard with a screwdriver in that little area there. Let's see if these will actually fit. Okay, the good news is these will actually help keep the radiator on the car and have it not fall off. The bad news is, because I haven't put them on yet, I actually have to lift the radiator back out and try and put it on again with these attached. So let's do it. It's always better to get it right rather than have another problem with your car in another 2 months. So now it's time to fit that. Now that should just slot through, which it does. So that's awesome. And I'll just try and fit this little bloody circlip on, which will be a massive prick. Just get the pliers on the circlip and pray. Oh, that actually wasn't so bad. This is actually going to make a big difference because it'll support the radiator from underneath. So no matter what, the radiator isn't just going to fall out the bottom of the car, which was something I was rather worried about until I realized I was doing it all wrong. So it's going to take a bit of wriggling to get those mounts in place because with them fitted, if you don't line them up properly, you can't actually bolt the radiator in at all. But, you know, we'll get there. Ah! Oh, no! So I got the left one in and not the right one, so now we've got to come back up, try and get that other bugger in. Come on. You. Oh. You know, if some idiot hadn't hammered them tighter, this would be really easy. You bloody idiot. So now I got to open these buggery things up again, which is why I'm glad I didn't shut them too much in the first place. To get this right, we're talking about a millimeter either way between the radiator sliding in easily, the radiator not fitting at all, and the radiator falling out of the car. Okay. Might be an aluminium radiator, but my back is still sore from lifting it 12 times. Okay. We're almost there. And we've done it. We're in at both sides. Might have taken a bit of forcing it left and right and getting it to slide in, but that mount is now sitting in there nicely. So, feeling pretty good about that. We can now bolt the radiator up and, you know, get it done. Bolt it up again and we'll be ready to keep moving. That is mounted in there properly now, and while it took an extra half hour of work and a couple of curse words, I'm just so much happier with the job, and I don't have to drive around worrying about my radiator falling out of the car. Next job is to wire up these fan wires to the original thermofan connector. We're going to run both on the thermofan and just forget about the air conditioning faniness functionality, because that's lame. So I've gone ahead and cut the connector off the original fan. I wasn't too worried about doing that because, seriously, nobody is going to buy a used NA6 radiator off you anyway. So we'll go ahead and get that wired up. Now, first things first, I got to figure out which way these fans actually go. And I don't have 12 volts on me because in this car, they put the battery in the back. Got to think about this. I do have to figure out which way to wire these fans up to make them suck this way so that the airflow matches the direction of airflow when you're driving along. Now, I could just assume that blue and black matches up to blue and black, but you honestly never know with this stuff. And I'm really not interested in spending an hour soldering it all together and then, you know, it being wrong. And if you're wondering why I'm soldering and not crimping, yeah, crimping's better if you've got a crimp tool. I don't have a crimp tool, we're gonna solder it. Soz. I can't find 12 volt on this, or more accurately, I haven't actually started looking. I don't have a spare car battery, I don't have a battery charger, I don't have anything to run these fans up until I found this. This is the solar panel that'll be going on T-curve one day. Hopefully there's enough light that this will actually get the fan spinning fast enough to determine which way it goes. So, we'll give it a go. Red to blue, black to black, and that's not even moving. Now I expected that, so I have another trick. So we'll see if we put the solar panel in front of the headlight. No, the fan still doesn't spin, this is garbage. I'm not entirely surprised, to be honest. So I just realized there's a perfectly good source of 12 volts in the diagnostic connector. And what is awesome is they've even given you a map of what all the pins do, so you don't have to Google it. So I'm just going to use 12 volts from there and see which way the fan spins. So I'm just using some garden variety speaker wire here to get this done. Alright, so we'll just try this. We've got the ignition on, we've got the wires there, and hopefully we see some movement of this bloody fan. Yes, we do. But which way? Yeah, that feels like it's sucking, which is good. We'll try it the other way, but I think the other way will be the wrong way. Yeah, that's definitely the wrong way. Okay, so it is blue to blue and black to black, and we'll go ahead and wire it up that way. I gotta say, I'm actually really impressed with this radiator. It fits in really well. Other than just having to tap a couple of mounts on the car with a hammer, pretty much slid straight in. You know, the wire colors are perfectly matched to the original wiring on the car, so even if you didn't check, you would have got it right. And, well, I mean, assuming it works, I think I'm going to be pretty happy with my new radiator. It's really hard trying to join 3 wires with a big pool of solder. That's why you shouldn't do it. But hey, you know, this is YouTube. This is as real as it gets. Wind those 2 buggers up. Wind this other bugger up on top. Oh, look at that. Everyone's happy. Everyone's getting involved. Fantastic. Am I proud of this? Well, no. Do I trust it? Pretty much, yeah. Alright, that's not looking too bad. And we'll shrink that on down. Now, if there's one thing I hate about heat shrink, it's that a combination of my ugly wire splices and my method of heating it to shrink it causes it to often develop holes and pits, and then I can't really trust it as insulation, so I have to go over it with tape anyway, defeating the entire purpose of using heat shrink to do a neater job. But that's just my life. So we can go ahead and plug that in. Zip tie our beautiful work safely out of the way, and go ahead and reconnect the coolant tubes. Generally on a car you're always going to want to use black zip ties, or in fact generally in life, because they're more UV resistant than the white ones by far. That should do nicely. Oh, I'm so keen. Go ahead and put our coolant pipe back on, if anyone remembers how it goes. Definitely that way. Okay. Go ahead and refit our tube for our
overflow. That goes on there. And look, this thing even has a little holder for that. I'm actually genuinely impressed with everything about this radiator. Except for the plastic. Oh no, that is a metal radiator cap. Still, I don't love it. Just got to connect the bottom radiator hose and fill it up. Shit, doing good. Alright, it's now getting rather late, but we'll go ahead and fill the radiator. Now the stock capacity of an MX-5 is around about 6 litres. With the new radiator it's probably a bit bigger, so I had to get two. Actually, I'm going to get a funnel first because this is not going to be fun. So we need a funnel. I'm going to show you an old Australian trick here. You go ahead and get a soft drink bottle, cut one end off it, and then you go ahead and wrap it with electrical tape for a snug fit, and that is how you stop yourself spilling coolant all over your driveway, which is something you definitely want to do. Now, I actually learned this trick from my fathers and grandfathers who were always working on beat up old cars in the 90s. They have, you know, moved past that stage in their lives, lucky them. But for the rest of us, you got to make a funnel out of a soda bottle. Go ahead and cram that in there. It's not quite as stylish as those ones you see all the big time guys using that actually screw on, but it's pretty damn good. The trick is to cut the funnel nice and high like this so you can really fill it up and just not risk spilling anything, really. This is why I'm glad I bought 2 bottles of coolant. And it looks like we're full. So this plan isn't foolproof, obviously. But that's taken just about 6 litres of coolant. Now what we've got to do is start the car, basically run it up for a while and wait for the thermostat to open. Once the thermostat opens, more coolant will flow into the engine and we'll just have to top the radiator up a bit. So to burp the radiator, we actually want to run it up with the radiator cap open. So I'll just go ahead and start the car now. Yeah, that's not ideal, the amount of coolant that's getting everywhere. So basically the car's running now, it's not idling great, but it never really has since I bought it. That's another problem we got to fix. But regardless, we let this idle for a while till the engine warms up enough to both A, click the fans on to make sure those are working, and B, get all the air bubbles out of the radiator, and then we should be good. I'm not gonna lie, I bought this car for the pop-up headlights and I don't regret it. Okay, so it's been a couple minutes and the fluid level in the radiator has started to drop, which is great. The thermostat still isn't open because I can feel this top tube is still cold. That's fine, we'll just wait a bit longer and we should be good. Doesn't exactly sound like a performance motor, does it? Oh well. Now, I've just forced the fans to come on by turning the air conditioning on, and I can feel them blowing in the right direction, so that's great. Alright, that's warming up now and the thermostat's definitely open, so I'm just going to go ahead and top the radiator up. I reckon things are doing pretty okay. Alright, so I'm going to call the radiator burped. I reckon that's all good. And I'll keep checking it over the next few days to make sure everything's fine. Well, it's now rather late, but I'm going to call that radiator installed and just going to have to wait till it's daylight till I can actually take it out for a test drive. Should be good. So for all intents and purposes, the radiator is installed and I assume working. Now, the next step of improving the cooling is installing an undertray. Now, all MX-5 NAs came from the factory with an undertray. Mine went missing at some point in the last 27 years. So I have a second-hand one here, which we're going to bolt up. The only problem is I have no idea what bolts to use, so let's find out. So it's actually got little removable sections, which is probably useful if you need to actually service the car without wanting to take the whole undertray off. It's actually one of the common complaints about these is that to do an otherwise easy job, you often have to remove the undertray, but it does play a role in cooling, so I want one. Even if it is filthy and old. Ew.
I mean, capitalism is filthy and old, and we all want that, so who am I to complain? Now, installation basically involves lying under the car, lining it up with everything, and, you know, just figuring out how it bolts on, which is precisely what I intend to do. So I'm actually really lucky. These tiny little bolts that I think are left over from my Daihatsu Feroza actually fit the mounting holes for the Undertray and the MX-5. I reckon they're 10mm long M6s, but I could be wrong. Regardless, it's really helping me out. Finally, new radiator installed, new Undertray installed. You can see it is very black under there. It is time to drive this thing. Oh my god. Alright, finally gonna try and get this thing down to the beach. Can't wait. Radiator replaced, Undertray fitted, on the highway, round 2. Us going uphill, wish me luck. I think I've said that about 50 times in this video as well.